Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Balancing Act, the podcast devoted to helping families navigate memory loss and dementia. I'm Kelly Burtonshaw. Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone. In the last couple of weeks, I received some phone calls about a very important issue. Family members concerned about a loved one's unexplained and sometimes dramatic weight loss. Now, we know everyone's eating and drinking habits change as we age, but significant weight loss and changes in a loved one's eating and drinking behaviors may be a sign that something more than just aging is at work. In fact, unexplained weight loss and dietary changes are featured symptoms of Alzheimer's and other types of dementias. It's not that your loved one has suddenly stopped caring about food. It's that with dementia-related brain changes, eating and drinking are no longer simple, automatic activities. So today, let's walk through why that happens, how aging and dementia can change the experience of eating itself. And then let's talk about some practical ways you can support your loved one's nutrition, hydration, and overall health without making every meal feel like a battleground. First, whenever you are experiencing noticeable changes in your loved one's health, contact your loved one's physician. This will help everyone get to the root of the cause, and then we can make a care plan around the issue. And this is going to take so much work and worry off of your plate. Now, let's set aside dementia for a minute and talk about how aging alone changes the way the body and the brain experience drinking and eating. First, our metabolism changes as we age. We simply don't need to consume as many calories as we used to. And we have to talk about changes to our sense of smell. Over time, smell becomes muted. Before we even see food, we smell it, and 80% of taste is scent. It is a major cue to the brain it's time to dig in. And when we don't get the full impact of what our food smells like, eating becomes less enticing. Also, taste diminishes over time, and your loved one may develop sensitivities to temperature and texture that they didn't have before. And here's something that families don't always think about: changes to vision. If a brain has to work harder just to clearly distinguish the food and beverage in front of a person, the process is already starting to become more effort than it used to be. So even before we talk about dementia, the effects of aging can fundamentally change the experience of enjoying a meal. When dementia gets layered on top of those age-related changes, families often begin noticing more significant issues. Consider the impact of dementia on memory, processing, decision-making, sequencing. All of this affects what eating and hydration actually require from the brain, because what used to feel like one simple action now becomes a series of challenges the brain has to overcome and carry through successfully. Your loved one will still feel hungry. They may still fully intend to eat. But just think for a moment about all the decisions and the steps involved in simply making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now, the intention is still there, but the brain has trouble sustaining the process from beginning to end. And at the same time, dementia changes how food itself is experienced. Dementia comes with slower and less reliable processing of sensory information, which of course affects flavor, smell, texture, and temperature in much more impactful ways. Foods your loved one always enjoyed can suddenly feel completely unfamiliar to them, even when nothing about the food has actually changed. And then layer into all of this the fact that hunger and thirst signals themselves become less reliable. Your loved one may not recognize that thirst signal clearly anymore, or they may not notice they're hungry until they're already tired, weak, or irritable. So let's take a step back and look at the full picture. What seems like just a disinterest in eating or drinking is often the result of a brain that is facing an obstacle course and is being challenged in ways it is struggling to manage. I want us to take a small pause together. These conversations can bring up a lot, I know. And if what you're hearing feels helpful, I hope you'll take a moment to hit that follow button. It's a simple act that helps me keep bringing you new stories, insights, and encouragement to help lighten your load, even if it's just a little. And if the platform you listen to this podcast on allows reviews and ratings, please share your experience. This moves us up on the podcast lists, and that's how we can reach more families and provide the support they need. There's another way to show your support, through a donation. Just look for the Buy Me a Coffee link in today's show notes. This helps us keep the mic on and the episodes coming. Thank you so much for listening and for being part of this community. Now, let's get to some actionable steps that you can take right away. First and foremost, we need to be aware of the risk of dehydration. And the tricky part about this is that dehydration doesn't always look the way people expect it to. It can first show up as some fatigue and maybe some weakness, and then progress to dizziness and confusion. But dehydration is dangerous because it increases the risk for urinary tract infections, falls, and hospitalizations, because the brain is already vulnerable, and now the body is under additional stress. The challenge is that hydration depends heavily on recognizing that thirst signal, and we know that dementia interferes with that communication. So we need to build cues to the need to drink something into your loved one's visual and physical routine. Here are just a couple of things you can use right now. Let's start with the out of sight, out of mind reason your loved one doesn't hydrate. When beverages stay visible and within reach throughout the day, the brain no longer has to rely on memory or initiation to keep that fluid intake coming. Try to keep 5 or 6 bottles of water, juice, tea, or even flavored carbonated water within sight and within reach. And here's another visual cue. It can really help to use cleared glassware because seeing the liquid itself can act as a visual reminder. Now I want to focus on some habits you can build into your loved one's daily routine. Putting a liquid in front of a loved one before they even see the food can help them include hydration whenever they sit down to eat. And here's a fun one. Get in the habit of clinking glasses of water with your loved one and saying cheers. This will more likely get your loved one to take those important first sips, wet their whistle, as it were. And whenever you can sneak liquids into their food options, high water content fruits and vegetables, such as chunks of melon, sliced cucumbers. Well, you get the idea. When hydration becomes part of the normal flow of the day, instead of a separate task, you can help your loved one stay hydrated more successfully without them feeling pushed or controlled. Once hydration becomes more stable, the next step is reducing the amount of overall effort eating requires. I do want to talk about this, though. I can tell you from working in so many senior living facilities, supplemental drinks that promise all the daily vitamins, minerals, and protein needed are extremely popular. Now, while there is some benefit to these supplements, they are just that, supplements. There is no evidence that these drinks provide superior benefits over a balanced whole food diet. But many seniors consider them a legitimate meal substitute. On the other hand, making and/or eating full meals becomes mentally tiring long before families realize it. That's why a manageable option for everyone is frequent, smaller eating opportunities throughout the day. Keep healthy options easy to see, easy to reach, and with little to no work to start eating. I like to keep 5 to 6 healthy choices of familiar foods and snacks on the counter. And here's a tip I use all the time. Bump up the scent of food in the environment. Remember, taste is 80% smell. And our sense of smell has the fast lane to the region of our brain that controls emotions, memory, and reward. It's also why scents like cinnamon, coffee, bread, popcorn, and fry foods, I can guarantee you, bacon works every time. All of these can be appetite triggers. Saliva production increases, insulin levels rise, and that hunger signal gets activated, even if the stomach isn't empty. And let's create the setting of eating. Set the table. Clear away all the clutter on the dining room or the kitchen table, and always have a placemat with silverware and a napkin and a glass in clear sight. I think all of us have long-term memories of when we see the table is set, it's time to eat. And if you are going to sit down with your loved one for a meal, stick with their favorites. It's easier for the brain to engage with what it knows. And smaller portions also tend to work better because they reduce the demand of the meal itself. One thing that families always complain to me about is their loved one's desire for sweets. And honestly, this becomes a huge source of frustration because it sometimes feels like sweets are the only thing your loved one wants to eat. Now, there is the myth that our sweet taste buds are the strongest as we age, but it's actually the opposite. Our bitter and sour taste receptors are the ones that remain functional the longest as we age, with salty and sweet sensations typically fading first. But sweetness has a recognition advantage. It requires less cognitive and sensory effort to identify and enjoy compared to subtle or complex savory profiles. I worked with a family once whose mother had never really cared about sweets or desserts for her entire life. But as her dementia progressed, she became fixated on cookies and ice cream. Every shopping trip turned into an argument because her daughter kept trying to redirect her away from the sweets, and it was just not going to happen. So we worked together, and eventually they changed their approach. They reached out to their loved one's physician and got a dietitian on board. Together, they built a plan and an environment that offered some of the sweets she enjoyed, but made with artificial sweeteners. For example, swap out ice cream for frozen yogurt. And what happened over time was that food became less of a battle because her mother no longer felt controlled or denied of something she truly enjoyed. And that's really the goal here, isn't it? Not eliminating preferences, but shaping the routine and the environment around them in a way that supports better balance while still preserving choice and dignity. Let's take a moment to review. Changes in eating and drinking are often some of the earliest signs that the brain is struggling. Reach out to your loved one's physician to determine possible causes, and so that he or she can connect you with resources and professionals that will help you make a care plan. We also talked about helpful ways to respond by simplifying the environment, supporting hydration, preserving familiarity, reducing that cognitive demand, and leaning into routine so that eating and drinking become more manageable and enjoyable and a lot less worrisome for you. If this episode resonated with you and you think you might know someone who would benefit from this information, please feel free to share. And please remember, I'm here to be a part of your support team. If you have any questions or want to make any comments, please go to our Facebook page. It has a ton of information, and you can leave a message for me there. The link is in our show notes. You'll also find in today's show notes some resources with even more ideas and strategies for helping your loved ones stay hydrated and healthy. And throughout all of this, each day take a moment to give yourself this grace. No one is perfect at this. No one. You're doing the best you can. You're doing it from a place of love. And that is enough. I'm Kelly Burtonshaw, and it was my pleasure spending time with you today. Please keep in touch.
Hi, I'm Peggy Wright, editor and producer of this podcast. We know that juggling your loved one's care while trying to manage your own life can truly become a balancing act. We want to help you as you navigate this journey by offering our support. You can reach out to us anytime by going to our Facebook page to ask questions, leave comments for Kelly, or talk with her one-on-one by setting up a chat. The link is in the show notes. And you can find us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to rate and review so we can continue to provide relevant content. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for listening today.